I turned 88 last week. There was no party, just a quiet dinner with a neighbor who checks on me because she thinks I'm a nice old man. She doesn't know the truth. I haven't spoken to my son David in 20 years. I'm not telling you this to get sympathy. In fact, if you listen to this whole story, you might end up hating me. And I wouldn't blame you. But I have to say this out loud because on Tuesday morning, a van is coming to take me to an assisted living facility, and I can't take this secret with me. There is a brown leather box on the top shelf of my closet. I haven't touched it since 2005. But yesterday, I took it down. What's inside that box changes everything about the story I've told myself for 2 decades. It's the reason I'm sitting here, talking to camera instead of fixing things. You know, when you get to be my age, your world shrinks. It goes from a city to a neighborhood, to a house, and finally to a chair. I spend most of my days in this chair looking at that phone on the wall. It's an old landline. I keep it because it's the only number he knows. For years, I told my friends, the few I have left, that David got busy, that he moved to Europe for work, that we drifted apart. Kids these days, I say, shaking my head. They forget where they came from. That was the first lie. The truth is, he didn't drift. I pushed him. And I didn't just push him. I locked the door and threw away the key, thinking he would come begging for me to open it. I thought I was teaching him a lesson about respect. I thought I was being a strong father. I didn't realize that I was training him to live without me. And he learned that lesson better than I ever expected. The movers are coming in 3 days. I have to empty this house. 40 years of accumulating junk. But the hardest room isn't the attic or the garage. It's his old bedroom. I walked in there this morning. It still smells like dust and old paper. There's a trophy on his shelf for a debate tournament he won in high school. I remember that night he came home, beaming, holding it up. I didn't hug him. I asked him why he didn't get first place in the state finals. I saw the light go out in his eyes. I saw it and I ignored it. That's the memory that wakes me up at 3 a.m. Not the big fight, but that small moment, the moment I chose criticism over connection. If you're a parent listening to this, I want you to ask yourself a question. When your child walks into the room, does your face light up? Or do you look at them and immediately start scanning for what needs to be fixed? I was a fixer. I was a hard man. My father was hard on me, and I turned out okay. Or so I thought. I believed that love was about preparing your child for a cruel world. So I became the cruelest thing in his life, thinking I was inoculating him. There was a Sunday dinner. This was maybe 22 years ago. David was 25. He was trying to tell me about a new business idea he had. He was passionate. He was waving his hands around, and I just sat there cutting my steak. I didn't look up, I just said, "And how exactly do you plan to pay a mortgage with that?" The room went silent. You know that silence. The one that rings in your ears. My wife, God rest her soul, she put her hand on my arm. She whispered, "Frank, please." I shook her off. I looked at David and said, "I'm just being realistic. Someone has to be." He didn't yell. He just put his fork down. He looked at me with this, exhaustion. It wasn't anger anymore, it was just tired. He stood up, took his plate to the sink, and walked out the front door. That was the beginning of the end, though I didn't know it. If you've ever seen your child give up on you, not fight you, just give up, you know that feeling. It's a cold dread in the pit of your stomach. It feels like you're falling. I ignored it. I told myself he needed to toughen up. People always ask, "What happened? What was the big fight?" They expect a blowout, a dispute over money, a political argument. It was so much smaller than that. And that's what makes it tragedy. It was Christmas 2005. He brought a girl home. Sarah. She was nice, a bit quiet. She had a tattoo on her wrist. I didn't like it. I made a comment. "Just a joke," I said. David asked me to apologize. I laughed. Apologize in my own house? He said, "Dad, just say you're sorry, please, for once." I stood up. I felt my pride rising up like bile. I will not apologize for speaking my mind to my son. He looked at me and he said the words that have haunted me for 2 decades. He said, "You love being right more than you love me." I told him to get out. I pointed at the door. I said, "Don't come back until you're ready to show some respect." I expected him to call the next day. I expected him to call the next week. I sat by this phone for 6 months. Every time it rang, my heart would hammer against my ribs. A physical pain, a spike of anxiety so sharp I'd have to sit down. I picked it up, ready to accept his apology. It was always a telemarketer or a neighbor. Here is the first thing I've never admitted to anyone. 2 years after that fight, I saw him. I was at the hardware store in the next town over. He was in the aisle with the paint. He looked older, he had a beard, he was laughing at something on his phone. I froze. My instinct wasn't to run to him. It was to hide. I ducked behind a display of lawn mowers. I watched my own son from between the handles of a Toro push mower like a coward. I was terrified he would see me. I was terrified he wouldn't see me. I watched him pay and leave. I could have walked out there. I could have said, "David," just his name. That's all it would have taken, but my feet felt like they were encased in concrete. I let him drive away. After that, I hardened my heart. I had to. It was the only way to survive the silence. I started telling myself a new story. He was the ungrateful one. He abandoned his aging parents. I became the victim. It felt good. It felt safe. I gave him everything. I tell the guys at the coffee shop. And this is the thanks I get. They'd nod. They'd agree. They validated my poison. But at night, the house was so quiet. You don't realize how loud a house can be until it's empty. The refrigerator hums. The floorboards settle. And every sound sounds like a footstep that isn't coming. My wife died 7 years ago. That was the chance. That was the moment the universe gave me to fix it. I called his old number, disconnected. I called his friends. They were polite, but distant. I'll let him know, Mr. Miller. Did they let him know? Did he get the message and ignore it? Or did he think if he wanted me there, he would have called me himself years ago? At the funeral, I watched the door. Every time it opened, my breath hitched. I felt a surge of adrenaline, a mix of hope and terror that made my hands shake. I wanted him to walk in so I could hug him. I also wanted him to walk in so I could yell at him for being late. Even in my grief, my ego was fighting for the steering wheel. He didn't come. I stood by her grave alone. And that's when I realized the cost of my pride. It wasn't just my relationship I had destroyed. I had robbed her of her son in her final years because I couldn't say I'm sorry. That shame is heavy. It sits on your chest like a stone. If you keep going like I did, you'll die in a quiet house and nobody will notice for days. That's my reality now. Which brings me back to the brown leather box. I told you I haven't opened it since 2005. That's true. But I didn't tell you what's inside. It's not photos. It's not keepsakes. It's a letter. 3 days after our fight, the Christmas fight, the mailman delivered a letter from David. I recognized his handwriting immediately. I sat at the kitchen table with a letter opener. I was angry. I thought, here it is. The apology. He's finally crawling back. But then a darker thought crept in. What if it's not an apology? What if it's more accusations? I was so afraid of being hurt again. I was so afraid of reading words that confirmed I was a bad father. So I didn't open it. I told myself I was waiting for him to say it to my face. I threw it in the box. I said, I'll read it when he comes home. He never came home. And the letter stayed in the box. For 20 years, that letter has been Schrödinger's cat. As long as I didn't open it, there was a chance it was an apology. There was a chance he loved me. If I opened it and it was a goodbye, it would be over. But I'm moving Tuesday. I can't carry this ghost to the new place. So this morning, I opened it. I'm going to read it to you. My hands are shaking, so bear with me. Dear Dad, I know we yelled. I know you're angry. But I'm writing this because I'm not good at talking when you're looking at me that way. Sarah is pregnant. You're going to be a grandfather. It's a boy. I want him to know you. I want him to know the dad who taught me how to fish, not the dad who yells about politics. I know you're trying in your own way. I love you, Dad. Can we start over? I'll call you on New Year's. Please pick up. Love, David. He didn't write to quit. He didn't write to blame me. He wrote to tell me I had a grandson. And the date. December 28th, 2005. I'll call you on New Year's. Please pick up. I remember New Year's Day, 2006. The phone rang. I sat in this chair. I looked at it. I let it ring. I thought I was punishing him. I thought I was holding the line. I wasn't holding the line. I was cutting the cord. I have a grandson. He would be almost 20 now. A grown man. I don't know his name. I don't know his face. I missed his whole life. I missed everything because I was too afraid to open an envelope. Because I was too proud to answer a phone. I checked the return address on the envelope. It's a house in Oregon. I looked it up online this morning. It was sold 10 years ago. He's gone. I don't know where he is. I don't have a happy ending for you. This isn't a movie where the doorbell rings and we hug in the rain. I'm an old man in an empty house holding a 20-year-old letter that proves I was loved and that I threw it away. But I'm telling you this for one reason. There is someone you are not talking to. I know there is. Maybe it's your son. Maybe it's your dad. Maybe it's a friend. You think you have time. You think you're teaching them a lesson. You think you're right. Being right is the most expensive thing in the world. It cost me my family. Don't wait for the apology. It doesn't matter who started it. It doesn't matter who was wrong. Just pick up the phone. Break the silence. Because one day the phone will stop ringing. And the silence will be the only thing you have left. I'm going to pack this letter now. And then I'm going to try to find him. I probably won't, but I have to try. Don't be me. Please, don't be me.